Hello everyone, my name is Ahmad, and in this tutorial I'm going to show you how you can create forms in Angular using the Angular Forms module. As you can see, if I type something and if the last name is empty, the error will show up. In this tutorial I'm going to show you all the ins and outs of Angular Forms and all types of forms in Angular, and you'll be a master at the end of this tutorial on Angular Forms. Let's get going. So you may ask, what are Angular Forms? Angular Forms are modules that you can import in your project, so your life will be a lot easier when creating forms and modifying them and adding validation to your forms, or data binding whenever the data comes from the server, or in general a lot of projects, a lot of business projects have a lot of forms in them. They're actually just projects full of forms. And if you want to create forms using if you want to fiddle with them in the model and add ng for other directives, your life will be hard. But with Angular Forms you can add validation and all the good stuff that comes pre-built with Angular. So in Angular we have two types of forms. One is a template driven form. A template driven form is a form that has little to do with the controller of our app, and most of the directives are in the template. In HTML you can add ng form and add validation, and it's mostly done in template, in our HTML template. There are also reactive forms. Reactive forms are forms that their logic is coded in our model, in our controller, and each one of them has pros and cons. Let's start with our template driven forms. The pros: they're easy and fast, and you don't have to go to the controller and import anything or declare any kind of variable, and they're good for small forms. Why is that? Because if you've got a big form, it'll make your HTML very messy. And there are cons, as I said: unmaintainable for big projects, and they're difficult for data binding. Whenever, for example, if data comes from the server and a text area, for example, has some value that's coming from the backend, it's difficult, a little bit difficult. But if you get the value from the backend, and you can easily fill the text area and other inputs in reactive forms. Let's go to the reactive form. There are a lot of pros. They're maintainable, they're observable. They give you an observable base API, so you can listen to data change. Template driven forms do the same as well, but reactive forms are a lot cleaner, are a lot more modern, and I recommend you use reactive forms. And also doesn't make your HTML messy. It's maintainable, separation of concerns, and it's also clean. There are also some cons, not some cons. It's a little less easy. It's not difficult, but for the sake of having a con, it's a little less easy than template driven. It's template driven forms. You can create them on the go, fast, but good, only good for small forms. Let's start with a form that has got two inputs, and the first one is for first name and the last one for last name. Let's go to our editor, open up app component HTML, and here we've got a form, label input, and the last input is a submit button. And let's go back and let's add ng form in our app. Open a new tab, open app module.ts. In here, import forms module from forms, and go back to our template, and for the form add a name, for example, form equals ng form. import it here, and everything now works fine. Go to the browser, and if I go back and for the inputs I have to add ng model, and for the second input as well, ng model. As you can see, nothing has changed, and in here I want to add required. And if I go here, I can type disabled equals our form. If it's not valid, then it is disabled. Go back. As you can see, it's disabled. Let me turn off dark mode off. As you can see, our button is disabled now. If I type this and add another value, it becomes enabled. And I can also add required to the first one, so both of them are required. I have two, and now the button is enabled. That's template driven forms in a nutshell. And for reactive modules, go to app.module.ts and add a comma and add reactive forms module, and copy and paste it in your imports. And now go to app component ts, the controller, and in here import something. Import form builder, and come down, create a constructor, and create a private variable called fb of type form builder. Go up, create a new variable called form equals this.fb dot group. And that's it. In here, create the controller for the first input called first name equals, create an array. The default value of first name I want to be empty, and I want to have a validator of type required, so I'm gonna type validator with capital V dot required, and put a comma again, create a second one, last name. The default value is empty, and also it is required. Go here, I forgot to type ngserve. Go to the browser and press F5, and in here everything seems to be working. Go back again, go to your template and add form group equals form that we created, and in here at the end of the first input add form control name equals form control form control name equals first name, and come down to for the last name, type again form control name last name. It auto completed it for us. Go here, everything seems to be working, and now I want it to be disabled when the above inputs are empty. So go here and type disabled equals if form that valid is not. So it's working. If I type something, calm down, and now it is working. That's it, folks. That was my tutorial for Angular forms in a nutshell. Thank you for watching. If you got any questions, please comment them down below. Goodbye.